Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and guys, I want to thank you all for joining the stream that I did last week. Hopefully I can do another stream very soon. I'm looking to see if my schedule allows it, especially because it's a bit hard when I have so many videos I have to make, and also my full-time job takes time too, so it's a bit tough. I wanted to finish off the video for the Gateron GT68 Pro, or sorry, the 68 Ultra. So we have to thank Gateron, right? Gateron sent me out so much cool stuff. They sent me out like this whole kit from Gateron, like the Sika kit for like the Ford 68 case and the GT68 Ultra. We did a lot of the build already in the stream. I know the stream video went down. I just took the VOD down because of like copyright stuff. Some reason the music that I was using that was technically royalty free was not, so unfortunately that had to come down. But we're gonna go into taking a look. I'm gonna combine stuff from the stream with part of the new sound test that I'm doing, because I want to give you guys a clean sound test, and of course some things that I found afterwards that is quite important. So let's go straight into that, but please make sure to like and subscribe. So we're gonna start off with the whole Gateron GT68 Ultra unboxing from my stream, and this is with the Ford 68 Sakura HE limited edition collaboration, and they also sent me out the GT60 Pro, so we're going to look at that on the next stream, but this is going to be just focusing on the 68. Now this whole box, I gotta admit, is amazing. What Gateron did for this whole unboxing experience, like the packaging, was very, like, I have to admit how beautiful it was and how nice it was to really experience the unboxing with like you guys watching the stream. They put a lot of effort into it, and I really appreciated how it came out to be. They provide you with the switches, so you get the Sakura Jade switches in there, which is, just technically a recolored Jade Pro switch. And then you get this really cool VIP card, which I did scan the QR code, and the QR code led me to like a WeChat. So I'm gonna have to really see what more it does, and it's gonna be really interesting to see, because like, whoever's out there that actually does get this kit, it's gonna be really cool to take a look at. And I think overall, it's just an addition to this unboxing experience. Like what you're getting with Gateron and this whole keyboard is really cool. It's a customized board that I really appreciated what Gateron was doing, and I liked the GT60. I think the GT60 was a really well done board from Gateron, and of course at the time I didn't get to try out the whole unboxing experience, like the whole 460 collaboration kit. This one is going to be my first time trying it with the 68, and honestly I really liked how it came out with everything except the keycaps. The only thing about the keycaps is it has like that jelly feel to them, which I'm not a big fan of, especially because of the sound wise either, but we'll have to see once we do the sound test. They do give you a really nice braided cable from USB-C to USB 3.0. You also get these extra stabilizers, which on stream I was like, oh, I wonder what these extra stabilizers for, and I found out afterwards, which I'll share with you guys. You also get this really nice strap, so you can put a strap on your board as well. Really cool things. They also have a drawer in there, so as you can see, as soon as we pop out the drawer, you actually get the case and the PCB. It's pretty much pre-built all in, so you get it all done for you with like the nice board with the case and the PCB, and the plate is going to be an FR4 plate, but it's like a pink colored FR4 plate just to match this whole theme of the board. I thought originally that it was supposed to be a GT60 with like this board and everything, but it was just my misconception, because originally the context of the email that they sent me in terms of the communication was the fact that it was going to be a GT60. So I was like, oh, I'm really curious like what's going on. I was wondering why everything was already pre-built and what was I looking for. So I want to see what the GT60 PCB they sent me was. So taking a look at it, I was curious because I already did a GT60, right? So if you've caught like my previous video on it, where I did like the whole waterproof testing on it and everything, like I poured water on there, I poured 7-Up on it, I think I even poured like Coke on there, I think it was Coke Zero. The idea was to see and test like would the PCB last. So it was really cool that they sent me out the GT60 Pro PCB, and I'm actually going to be doing another stream because it's going to be interesting how it's changed, or what different are they doing with it and why they sent it out to me, right? So that's going to be the key thing for that one for the next stream. In general, we got to really thank Gateron, because Gateron's been super nice to me with this. Like in general, they've been sending out so many different switches and boards, and I got to test out a lot of cool things with them. So this is pretty awesome. Now, what am I going to do with this build, and really what we're looking for is how does it sound. But we have to really take a look and see like what's inside of it as well. And one of the key things that I personally was interested to see was like the foaming inside, because the original the 460 case, if you noticed it on the bottom, it had like a plastic sheet, which this one has it too, right? It has a plastic cover and then it has foam on top. Or that time it didn't have foam. From what I remember at the time, there was like no foam, it was just a plastic on the bottom. This time around, they provide you a foam for the PCB and the case, and there's the plastic as well. And this time the plastic's designed so it's not just like a plain plastic anymore that's covering. It's actually a nice design on there. So the foams as well, like you get a really nice set of foam inside, like that's 2 layers. So you get the PCB and you get the plate, the PCB, and you get the case foam. So 2 layers of foam on the bottom. I don't know if the case foam is going to affect the lighting though, because at the end of the day, like you get the lighting on the bottom of the PCB come through the bottom of the case. And during the stream, I actually tested it as well. It does look nicer when you take out the foam, but the thing is, the sound wise, I think without the foam it's not as great, because it keeps hitting the bottom plastic is actually moving a little bit, and that movement really affects the sound of the board. So that was one thing that I personally felt wasn't the greatest in terms of it. So that's something that really should be looked into. I think Gateron should maybe have another look at that specific plastic, just to make sure that you don't get a lot of that movement causing a different type of vibration sound for the keyboard itself, specifically towards like the spacebar, because the spacebar wasn't the greatest when I tested it. So we're going to actually remove every screw. So the reason I'm doing the Gateron Sparks first is because I want to hear what the Gateron Sparks are like on this. I've tried it with a couple different boards already, and the Gateron Sparks in general are pretty decent in terms of sound wise, and the feel wise, they're kind of decent as well, like the Jade Ultras, but not as great maybe in terms of like the Jade Ultras. I think the Jade Ultras overall will sound a little bit better for most people. One thing though is that the Sakura Jade switches I'm not a big fan of, because I'm not a big fan of the Jade Pro switches. So that's something to keep in mind. As you can see here, you have 3 layers underneath between the plate and the PCB. So you get 2 foam layers, and then you get the PT plastic sheet. So overall, a very decent amount of layering between the PCB and the plate, which of course like Hall effect switches, you don't really get that kind of thing where custom boards do, where you have a nice like clack, or most of the Hall effect switches, I'm gonna be honest with you, aren't the greatest sounding switches. So they're getting better and better, but it's definitely got some limits. I also thought in my mind when I did the original review with the stream that like, oh, it was really cool that they provided these foams for the spacebar. I really thought it was just for dampening for the spacebar section. Turns out that's wrong. It actually is a split spacebar, which is amazingly cool, and I'll be showing that a little bit later as well. Overall, the few things that I would probably mention in terms of this build is that I think Gateron might need to look into like the placement of the USB-C port. So you see how it's in the top left. I think that's going to be something that maybe could be looked into in the future when they're doing another board. And of course, like the plastic cover on the bottom, kind of look into that, maybe to be a different material, just because of how it does affect the sound of the board, and you can actually hear the resonation from there when you are typing in it. I think that's something that's going to be overall not a big fan favorite for a lot of people. Maybe not, actually, sorry, I shouldn't say a lot of people. Say for me personally, from what I felt with it, is that you can actually hear it, and that's why I would recommend using the foam instead of no foam. I thought removing foam might be better, but overall testing and wise, I noticed that it really wasn't. Now, I was having issues with just like some audio stuff during my stream, which is why you'll see my Neo 60 CU up there. But overall, I'm going to be using the keycaps that they provided. I put in the Gateron Sparks, so fill the whole board with that. I'm also going to give you guys a sound test between the 2 different ones. So we're going to do the Gateron Sparks, and we're going to do the Gateron Sakura Jade Pro switches as well. And I'm going to be also giving you guys the Jade Ultra. So you're going to get a sound test with all 3 different switches, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what different switches would sound like in this thing. But overall, I think the Gateron GT68 Ultra came out really nice. It does look cute. I am not a big fan of the jelly-like keycaps, but overall, they did a good job in terms of building this thing and making a really nice full collaboration set on this. But let's go into the sound test. So this is what I meant. Now, this is super cool. Gateron sent me this 3-in-1 puller. I think it's the best puller I've had, actually. It's like super sturdy. Probably one of the best ones for switch pulling, keycap pulling, and switch opener all in one. Really definitely a tool you guys should take a look at. Like, a super cool thing. Now, as I was mentioning, yeah, I realized afterwards the spacebar is actually able to be split. So the spacebar, as you guys would have heard in terms of the whole sound test, it does sound very flat and muted. It really doesn't pop any like switch sounds at all. It's kind of all the same sound. It's just so muted in there. I think Gateron needs to take a look at how they did the spacebar wise, because it does affect the sound a bit. The stabilizers are plate mounted stabilizers, and they're lubed partially, but they're not lubed very well. So I would recommend that anybody get this kit, they should lube it. Add some extra lube, get like a syringe, and add some lube around all the stabilizers because it'll help a lot. Otherwise, you're gonna deal with a little bit of tinging in terms of their stabilizers. I think in general they did a decent job, but it wasn't good enough to be not tinging at all. So this is something just to keep in mind. Another thing you could do is really change out the stabilizers completely too if you'd like. I'll be going over why later on in the video. Now, one thing I would say is the Jade Ultras probably sound the best in this board, and once you do the split spacebar, it sounds so much nicer. I really think that like the split in this specific situation is the way to go with this board. The full spacebar just has this muted sound, which honestly is not great, and you will really notice it more in person. And trust me, like when I did it, I tried many different switches to try to see if it would work, but unfortunately it didn't. But let me just give you guys a sound test of what it sounds like. So this is the final build of the GT68 Ultra, and with the 468 case, overall it came out really nice. I think the pink and everything was really cute. Some people out there that love a pink keyboard, they're gonna love this whole set. To be fair, the price wise, when you consider like everything you're getting with it, with the PCB, the case, and all that, it's actually not bad because you get like switches with it as well. So you get switches, you get a case, you also get the keycaps, like everything with the GT68 Ultra PCB. Yeah, I think 220 USD pricing wise, it's not too bad. It's especially when you consider it with some of the competitors out there, like Wu-Ting and the Venom. Definitely cool stuff that they're doing. I think overall the thing I noticed most is the spacebar sound wise, right? You guys would have saw that it wasn't the greatest. So I think it's because of the way that the plate is built. I realized afterwards, so in the stream, I was like, I had like, they have like this foam for the spacebar to like help mute things. Actually, the foam was there because they needed to mute it because of the spacebar like covering the switches section. So you can have a split spacebar here, which I would have showed you guys when I did the modifications and things. This board actually came out really well after you do that. So the split spacebar actually sounds a lot better. It's not as muted anymore. And of course the stabilizers all do require lubing. So you need to lube like every single stabilizer a little bit extra. Even though they do have some lube in there, it's highly recommended that you do extra lubing with like a syringe or something, and it'll make it all really good. Now, like the sound wise for this, the spacebar has gone so much better, especially having it split up. And overall, I like using this board. It's been really nice to type on, and I've actually enjoyed using it, even though it's size-wise like a little bit different as a 68%. I'm really curious what cases might work for this in the future. I feel like there's going to be certain 65% that might work with this, but I don't know. I'm going to have to see what comes out, what in the future is going to be available for these, because the USB-C port's on the left and it's not in the middle, which is going to be sometimes a bit difficult with 65% cases. Of course, we're going to have to go a little bit more in depth in taking a look at this board, doing like a backlighting test, looking at the software, things like that. And of course, my thoughts with gaming and comparing this with a lot of the other competitors. So let's go straight into that. Now, really going into the review. So when I did the stream, I gave you guys my initial thoughts in terms of, trying it out, playing a little bit of it, and playing a little bit of the games to show you guys like how it works in game. This thing weighs a total of 837 grams. So it's a very, very light keyboard, even though the case is like an aluminum, but it's like fully see-through, right? It's got holes in everything, so it's not going to be a very, very heavy board. The overall jelly like keycaps, I feel like are one of the reasons why the sound's kind of muted. The way that they did the keycaps, it's nice in terms of like the alpha keys mostly, and then the sides are just not great. You do have the choice of a regular spacebar, which is a 6.25U, and honestly it's gonna be a bit more muted in terms of the sound. It's not like the worst sound ever, but it will be more muted than say using something else. I would say that going with the split spacebar is going to be the best method to get the best sound from this, and especially in terms of like, especially when you are typing, right? When you're typing with this board, you're going to want to hear that nice sound, so I would recommend that. Now, the stabilizers as well, like the ones I showed you right now is the Designer Studios, I would recommend changing them out to that if you're having issues with your stabilizers and you feel like they're the ones that's causing the, not great sound. I do really like the back design of this board. I think it looks really great. Once you plug it into it, you can get some lighting that comes through and it actually shines with it. So it's really cute that way. If you remove the phone, it's going to sound even and look even nicer in terms of that. But if you have the foam in, the lighting's going to get a little bit more dim. But I would say that you should keep the foam in for the sound wise. Otherwise, it's not going to be the sound's okay. But as you can see here in terms of like how loud it can be, so this is with the Jade Ultras, you're looking at around the 63, 64 decibel point. So it's not the quietest board, but it's not going to be super, super loud either. And of course, testing the case to give you guys a little bit of sound. And overall, like the case wise, I think they did a pretty decent job. I've honestly never tried the Holy 60, so I can't give you guys an exact like comparison with the Holy 60, but I've tried different like copy versions, and I think Gateron's one is actually pretty decent in terms of the quality. As well as you can see here, like when I measure the front lip, so we're looking at about 20.5 millimeters, so about 2.5 centimeters in terms of height, in terms of the front lip, and then the back is going to be around the 32.5, so 3.2 centimeters in terms of like the back height. So that's going to be the height you're looking at in terms of what the lift and the front lift and the back lift is going to be in terms of this board. Overall, I would say I did enjoy using this board quite a bit. And of course, we're really going to have to go into like the backlighting now. So let me show you what it looks like with the backlighting. So as you can see here, the lighting on this board is incredibly bright. And it's very colorful, as you can see with the Gateron. Super, super nice with what they did. Of course, my camera is not catching it as nice as it really is in person. When you really see the lighting in person, you're going to be quite impressed with it. It's a very, very bright board with a lot of different lighting available. And I actually really liked how they did it in general. I think it could have been cool if they had a lighting called like the Sakura lighting, and they did some kind of really cool Sakura lighting for this. Would have been a very nice catch with it. And as you can see with the software, right? So this is the GT software, right? It's Gateron software, and I think Gateron software is quite nice. Overall, this is a really well thought out software, and they put a lot of work into it. Now, is it the perfect software? No, but it definitely is going to be on one of the higher levels for softwares. I've tried out, so many different gaming keyboards out there and like the different softwares they try to use. This is definitely going to be on the better side of things, right? Like I'm talking about like the Limo Key and Keychron, as well as Neos and the Geon, and also like the Wu-Ting. This is going to be still like around the level of still being on the better side, and you can do like all this different lighting stuff, which by the way, you can even set like a graffiti mode, meaning you can set your own colors for each individual key, which is really cool as well. That means each individual key can be set up to its own color that you want. This is something that I think is an overall win from Gateron, and this software is really not hard to use either. They made it quite simple. Now the main layer and like the function layer where you can change the stuff is a little bit on the I would say not the best side. It's still very simplified, and it's probably kind of copying off of what some of the other like older softwares use. I would say they could maybe improve that and make the UI look nicer in terms of it, and I think that could be a big improvement that they could add into the software. As you can see here, you can also choose and like be able to make the board a little bit better in terms of like choosing which switch and making sure that it's calibrated to that specific switch that you're using. So if, as you can see here, like I was saying, oh, the Jade Ultras are on this specific keys, or I want to, you know, calibrate the whole board to the same key. It's really cool that way. Like Gateron has so many different switches, and to be fair, I think Gateron has the most Hall effect switches out there, and being able to have that calibrated to that specific switch just makes it easier for you and makes this software work better for you in terms of overall usage. I think Wuting is also adding that into their software as well, so that's something that's new that they're doing, but still nice to see with Gateron. And as you can see, they also have the profiles, so you can do different profiles, which is cool. You can change it up using the function key, and then it's ZXCV to choose the different profiles. One of the buggy things about their software though is the fact that changing profiles is a little bit buggy. When you do change profiles, actually have to reset, re-go into the software, which as you can see, like how it's working that way. So you press confirm, it actually goes out, and then you have to go back in. This is a bug that I think they should fix. I think overall you should make it so that it's very easy to just quickly change the profiles and then make the changes dependent on the profile right there in one go without having to have that issue. So this is another thing that I would say that they should fix in terms of the software. I also changed the middle spacebar into a function key. It works a lot better for me. I personally like using that way because, you know, when you're using a 65% or 60%, you don't have the F keys, and being able to press F, like FN 1, 2, 3, 4, it's easier to have it right in the left hand than going all the way to where the arrow keys would be for the function key. So this is my personal preference. I know not everyone's going to like it. Not everyone likes the design of split spacebars either. This is my own personal preference. I prefer having a board be able to do split because I think it also makes the spacebars just sound much, much better. You don't have to deal with sometimes bad spacebars, and Hall effect boards in general, you're going to be dealing with a little bit more of that compared to, say, mechanical keyboards where like a 7U, for example, would sound really, really good. So overall, that's just my personal experience. So time to do like actual keyboard inspector tests. And yeah, this board is going to be running 8K, right? So you're looking at 8K. It's got a good scan rate, which is why you're going to see the numbers kind of skyrocketing to like really high numbers. That's just due to the scan rate of the board itself. Overall, in terms of the gaming performance wise, like you're going to get a good board with the Gateron series. I think I really appreciated how good the board was. And yeah, in gaming wise, like it was really, really nice to use. The price though is not going to be on the cheaper side, right? So you're looking at a decently priced board, 220 USD. So that's the price of this whole kit, but that's the kit, right? So you're looking at getting a keyboard, the case, keycaps, switches, this nice experience, everything for the price of $220. Definitely not cheap, but super cool. It's also waterproof, which is awesome, and it's got really cool lighting all over. No spill. You know, Gateron even did a Instagram reel where they poured Coke on it, saying it's Coke resistant for their GT series boards, which is really awesome. And I even tested it. It works. It will be Coke proof, waterproof, 7-Up proof. Now in game. So when I tested it in game, I've set it up. I showed you guys how I set up these things, you know, using Super Glide Tester just to make sure that all the accuracy is good. I really do appreciate when they go all the way to 0.01 because I know some companies might argue that it's not necessary and that it really doesn't make a difference. I personally feel like when it comes down to having to be frame perfect on certain things like Apex Legends Super Gliding, that 0.01 actually does make a difference, and it really comes down to the timing of things, and it really will change that difference by even that little like 0.01 frame is quite important when you are doing this, which is why I was mentioning to like Wuting before, you know, how come it wasn't being added, and this is just my argument for it. Like I've tested it and it actually does make a difference. As you can see here, I was doing super gliding with it, no issues. Of course, I have to get used to it with the board and my timing for it, but with this board, it worked really well. And picking up items, you know, making those changes, all those things is super, super good with it. I really do like the Gateron series board. I think they did a great job with this one. And if it wasn't just for the pricing of it and the fact that just the 68 Ultra, there isn't really much cases available, right? So the 60 is going to be where it's going to be at, to be honest. I think the 68 is a little bit harder just because there's not really much cases available. Now, this thing was something I was showing in terms of in-game with Apex. So there's recoil when you shoot in R99. When you move in Apex, there's actually a little bit of recoil smoothing. When you spam AD with a Hall effect keyboard, it also does a little bit of that recoil smoothing, which is really cool. And I think that's one of the key things of knowing how to use your Hall effect board to the main, like as much as possible to get the best out of it, especially when you are a gamer and you want to make sure you get all like these cool features. This is something that, you know, these are things you want to find out and be able to use with a Hall effect board. So like the main benefits, right, is the frame perfect movement stuff that you can do, as well as, you know, picking up items, moving like quicker clicks on stuff. And then of course in Apex Legends is going to be the recoil smoothing that you get by spamming AD on the board. Now going into comparing it with all the other boards out there. So what I mean by all the other boards, I mean specifically ones I tried, right? I'm only going to be comparing it with ones that I've tried so I can give you guys a little bit more of my thought. 220 USD, when you really compare it with some of the boards out there, doesn't seem like that expensive, right? The last board I did, which is the HMZ 64, which is kind of like a same 68% kind of like build, or 64%, is 260. The Wu-Ting is 200 for like the Zinc, and you're still looking at about 200 again for the 60V2. So when you really consider it, is the Gateron too expensive? I think the pricing wise, it makes sense. Like I get why, and it's justifiable comparing it with the competitors and all the other boards out there. But is it really the best pricing that I think is it? No. I think they could have maybe reduced the price a little bit. I'm gonna be honest. It would have been nice, right? It would have been nice to see them drop the price to like 200 USD. Why? Because it's hard to justify, right? For people that are spending money to get like a good board and, you know, something that's good for gaming and looks nice and can even sound nice and feel nice. I understand people can be willing to spend more money, but with the current economy, with the amount of competitors out there and like the whole market being filled up with different boards, I think it would have been cool if they dropped the price a little bit, just like a little bit. Think if they set it at $199.99, then I think it would have been like a really amazing board that people would have looked at and going, wow, this is like a really well priced thing. And I think like it's waterproof, which is a pro, right? I think that's a big pro. And the fact that it has a split spacebar design is another pro. And you can do either one, right? You can do split or you can do regular. So those are pros. But the thing is, there's not many cases available, which is why I would say that like if it had a bunch of cases that you could really customize and use with this, then the price is much more justifiable. I think possibly the Tofu 65, like the older one, the like original Tofu 65 case does work with this one. I think it will fit. I'm not 100% sure though, so please don't take my word for it. From looking at the design and like measurements, I think it would. But overall, like I think Gateron could maybe just bring this down a little bit, and then I would have called this board one of the best boards out there, which is for a 65%. I really do hope this video helped you guys to see whether or not the GT68 Ultra is a board you should grab. Honestly, I think it is a good board. Like Gateron's Hall effect PCBs have been pretty good. There are definitely some caveats that I was mentioning, you know, going through the software and things like that. But overall, yeah, I mean, I think that they're doing a good job. Like they are really improving with what they're bringing up. I'd love to see more cases available for like this kind of style and being able to change this case out, because the 60% is much easier, right? The GT60, much easier to change cases because it fits the same style of like the Venom and the Wu-Ting. This one is a standalone kind of thing, so it's a little bit more difficult. That's the only caveat with this one. But if you do love like the holy case and you like this little design on the back, I think you're gonna enjoy this board a lot. I'll have the links in the description so you guys can go check it out for yourselves. And of course, I'm gonna come back with like reviewing the different switches, specifically the Spark switch. I think a lot of people were waiting for that, so we'll come back this week with that. And of course, come check out the Discord, right? We're doing a giveaway which ends this week, so this is gonna be your last chance this week to join in. So please go check it out. The link's in the description. and check out the other videos I got, and I'll have to catch you guys next time.